Well, federal employees hit by a massive cyber attack. Personal information for at least 4 million employees exposed over the course of 3 decades. Hackers in China appear to be the culprit, targeting the Office of Personnel Management, which manages employee records for every federal agency. Now, the White House is slamming Congress, saying it has not kept the computer system safe and up to date. Joining me now, Republican Congressman Steve Scalise of Louisiana, who is House Majority Whip. Congressman, great to have you on the program.
Great to be with you, Maria.
So what can we be doing right now to ensure that we don't get these kinds of hacks? Is the president right?
Oh, well, no. In fact, that this is the president's administration. Typical example of the president having something happen right under his nose. For goodness sake, the White House was hacked not too long ago and then trying to blame somebody else. This is the second attack at OPM, the second data breach at OPM. This is a federal agency that the president has authority over, not Congress. Obviously, we're going to look into this at the congressional level. But with 4 million more federal employees having their personal data, Social Security numbers, and other information at risk, the president ought to be working with us to do more to go after China and these other countries that are trying to steal data, not just at the federal level, but in the private sector as well.
It certainly identifies a vulnerability. So can you talk to us about the vulnerability that we face right now as a country? How safe are our computers? I mean, government computers.
I mean, the fact that you've had multiple data breaches, not just 2 at OPM, but even at the White House. The White House has been hacked themselves. It shows you that these state sponsors, this isn't just some kids sitting in a basement. I mean, these are countries that are actively going and trying to steal data, not just of federal agencies, but of individuals in major corporations. So it's a major problem. It's been a problem for a long time. We need to do more. We've passed 2 bills out of the House, by the way, to increase protections of individual citizens and federal agencies. The president sat on the sidelines for those legislations. Maybe he wants to get in the game, roll up his sleeves, and work with us to get those bills signed into law.
You know, it's interesting because there is a balance to walk in terms of protecting our data, but also protecting our privacy. So let's talk about the disagreements and how you walk that balance. I guess Mitch McConnell and John Boehner sort of went at each other and had a conflict over the use of protecting data and the Patriot Act.
Absolutely, and you know, when we went through this in the House, it was a real delicate balance that we worked out to make sure that our intelligence agencies can gather the data they need to go after terrorists all around the world who we know want to do us harm, while also protecting the privacy of individual citizens. And it's a delicate balance that I thought we worked really well to achieve, and it was a bipartisan agreement we got. We sent it to the Senate. They maybe wanted to go in a different direction for a while and realized to get to 60 votes, it's hard to strike that balance, and we did a good job in the House. Ultimately, they took the bill that we passed and sent that to the president, and he just signed it a few days ago. So I think this is going to continue to give our intelligence agencies the tools we need, but we also added new protections for individual privacy of American citizens.
More now with the Majority Whip in the House, Steve Scalise. Congressman, let's talk about TPP for a second here. First off, China not involved in this program. We're trying to do a trade deal with other countries within the Pacific Rim. What's the strategy there?
The strategy is right now in Asia, we really don't have access to a lot of markets. So if you're making products in America, anybody can come in and bring their products into our country. We have a very open economy. We're for free trade in general. But what American trade is all about, what this agreement is about, is getting access to Asian markets and European markets for American products. So frankly, right now, we need to give American workers a competitive advantage so that they can go in and compete in those other countries. And where we compete, we win. Right now, China's been writing the rules of the game in Asia. And what this agreement is about, getting the ability, number one, to put constraints on the president so that on the front end when he's negotiating, we literally, in the bill we're moving to pass, we literally put over 150 different clauses that limit the president's ability. He can't put things like global warming pacts in this agreement. But then it also gives Congress full veto authority on any deal. So if it's a bad deal, we can literally veto it before it even moves forward. If you had this with the Iran negotiations, I think many people across the country would say that's a great deal. This is something that gives us the ability to give American workers a competitive advantage so that we can go compete in places we don't have trade agreements, where China's been writing the rules. How about if we write the rules for a change?
It's really important here because that is where the population growth in the world is. You're seeing countries like Indonesia. I mean, you know, that's where you're seeing growth in economies. So America has to get their products in there.
Right. And there's so many products, whether it's agricultural products in America, manufactured products in America, where we just can't get those products to a lot of these countries. We'll beat them on competition. competition. But right now, the rules of the game are written against us. We need to flip that around. And there's strong accountability in this bill that ensures that our products are going to have open access to places where they can't go right now. Let's go and export and create more good jobs in America, open up more markets for our workers to go compete and win.
What are the potential downers in terms of not getting those constraints on the president? Go through some of the things that Congress has actually insisted on putting in this bill to limit the president and how he's dealing with some of the countries overseas.
Well, things like protections of proprietary information. You know, you see countries like China stealing our data, stealing our information. So companies that have great ideas, come up with great new technologies in America, countries like China try to steal that all the time. We have real protections here that they have to comply with the protections that we have of information. But the other thing is we're actually going to be opening up those markets where right now they have high tariffs. So, for example, if you're trying to build a foreign car company, I've talked to governors who said they can get foreign car companies to build plants in America where we make those cars. The problem is they won't build them here right now because the tariffs are too high if we sell them to other countries. You knock those barriers down, you'll actually see more development in America. You'll see more investment in America, in the ability for us to go compete in those countries where right now they have barriers against us.
So
let's knock them down.
You don't think the unions understand that?
Well, I think some of these unions are just misguided in terms of what it takes to compete across the world. If you think that that the United States can just sit around and compete against itself, this is a global economy. In fact, most of the trade, most of the economic activity goes on in other countries. We can make most of those products, but right now they have rules that block us from selling to them. Let's knock those barriers down. American workers will compete and win when we get that opportunity. We just need to knock the barriers down so that they can go and have access to these other growing markets. These are big growing markets around the world.
Understood. Congressman, good to have you on the show today.
Great to be here, Maria.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Representative Steve Scalise, Majority Whip in the House. We'll see you soon, sir. Thanks again.